My ancestors woke me up this morning. They said, son, you do know what time it is, don't you? I said, what time is that? They said it's wartime, so welcome to the war front. Today we wanted to come out and have a very serious dialogue. We did this discussion some months ago, and the video didn't come out, so that's okay. We said we'll come right back in here and do it all over again. What are we going to do about the relationships between black men and black women? We all are familiar, even if our personal relationships with our mates are working well, that black men and black women are having significant, substantial problems from childhood ages all the way into eldership, whether it be couples, whether it be mothers and sons, fathers and daughters, nieces and uncles, any types of relationships between black men and black women, or black males and black females of all ages, are not working today. And we have to find a way to begin to make these relationships work again. So we got to get to the bottom of what's going on, and we got to determine what environment are we dealing with. So the original man to put a woman in a position to be empowered and respected and demand that she gets respect was the black man. What has gone from that point in time where black women were the most respected and revered women on the planet to a time where we call our women bees and hoes. We call them that, and they respond to it. And going into the 21st century, a lot of times we have issues that we deal with, and what we do as black folks, we start right where the problem is. We don't look at what caused the problem. We don't look at where the problem is going, and we try to deal with the problem right where it is. What's the problem with that? If you try to deal with a problem where it is and you don't know what's causing the problem, many times you're not dealing with the problem, you're dealing with the symptoms of the problem. Whatever caused the problems happened before, and all you dealing with is some pain that was caused before, and now you in the middle of a problem not really understanding what you're fighting. And also you got to know, well, what's going to happen if we don't resolve this issue? Where's this going? Because once you realize where it's going, then that gives you the urgency to say, wait a minute, this is not a problem I can blow over. We got to address this. What are we talking about for the 21st century? There's only one relevant topic to talk about in reality for the 21st century, and it's racial warfare. The whites have drawn the lines now. They have decided they don't want us here no more. And in the 21st century, we have two options. We're going to fight for our survival. We're going to unite as a people and protect our own interests, or these whiteys are going to show us who they really are. If we think that slavery was bad and we think that Jim Crow was bad, what these white folks have in store for us now will make those things look like they were laughable. And it's important that we start here, because we got to understand something, brothers and sisters. The whites are no longer pretending that this might be their objective. They are very vocal and obvious about what their intentions are. They state them very definitively. We go right here. This is the Washington Post, and this was December 13, 2006. What is the 21st century going to be all about? Let's take a look right here. The Washington Post article says, children too many and children too few. Now, if the white folks are talking about there are too many children, where might you think they talking about on planet Earth there are too many children? Somebody take a guess. He said, wherever there's black folks, where are the most black folks on the planet? Africa. And if he's saying there's too few young people, where do you think he might be talking about? He said, wherever there's white folk, where are the most white folk concentrated? Europe. Well, let's go see if our hypothesis is correct. Africa. Too many young people. In many sub-Saharan, that means the black countries that have not been completely taken over and dominated by Arabs. Sub-Saharan countries, women on average bear 6 or more children each. Development specialists, they didn't put the word white in there, but let's read between the lines. White development specialists had hoped the fertility rate would decline, but progress in family planning and female education has been slower than anticipated. In other words, white folks are going to the African continent, counting up our children, and they've decided we're having too many of them. And they, look, their words, the education, female education, and family planning hasn't worked. So if they're trying to decrease our population and tell us not to have babies, then we got to know what their code words means. So when they say education, that means teaching black people how not to exist. And when they say family planning, that means planning on black people having less babies, ceasing to exist. In other words, genocide. If you look right now, there's a major discussion going on with whites where they're saying very definitively, Nigeria in the next 100 years is going to have way too many people. 700 million people is too many people. We got to do something about this crisis.
Recently, nearly 150 military and civilian personnel from throughout Africa, Europe, and the United States participated in U.S. Army Africa's Theater Army Security Cooperation Conference in Vicenza, Italy.
These are white folks in Europe and America counting the number of black people, saying there's going to be too many of them. The reason why is because just like they did in America and came and exterminated the Native Americans, they have used up all of the natural resources in this nation. The Native Americans, under the guise of being Hispanics, have gotten themselves together and are marching. The white folks know they need a new home. So they say, well, where's the resource richest place on the planet? Africa. Where are the people least capable and in a condition to defend their own interests? Africa. Where's the place we can go and take to be our new home that we can exploit and dominate, where we can exterminate those people and move in? Africa. And thus, the war is already on. So when you see these so-called natural catastrophes happening, what you understand is that in order to get the whites to leave this country and agree to go in mass numbers to another place that they have marked out for them, which is Africa, they got to start pushing white folks to know you got to go. And so these natural catastrophes are happening in a full effort along with what they call AFRICOM, Africa Command. You can go online and read it for yourself. We have been under European assault for the last 1,000 years. Hard. Where they've been on top and we've been on bottom trying to survive. What that has created is a condition for black males, whether it's in America, whether it's in the islands and Caribbean, whether it's in Africa. Who are you meeting when you meet a black man? At the highest level, whether we mention this or not, we're not going to say this because it doesn't feel good for a man to admit that he is not doing his job properly. But let me tell you deep down inside who we are as a race of men today. We are a race of men who know, based on looking around and seeing our condition, that we have failed. The main job of men is to protect their women and children. And as an entire race of men who realize that we have not done that, we feel inferior. We feel like we have failed you. We know that we have failed you. And it makes it difficult to even look you in the face and try to pretend like we, these real tough, strong individuals, when we realize almost nowhere on the planet do we make the jobs. We got to go apply for them. No matter where we are, no matter how big the black population, we got to go to somebody else to ask them for a job so we can try to take care of you. That does not make us feel good. Our self-esteem is rock bottom. We're angry at ourselves. And for those of us that still have manhood left in us, we want to do something about it. But we look around at the condition of other brothers, can't figure out how to get unity, and it's extremely depressing. So we march on our own. We complain about the problem, and we try to do our own little individual things to fight against it, or we give up. Or we turn on you and blame it on you. Or with the onslaught of European psychological warfare, including hip-hop, the media, and all the filth that we get, they have now trained us to believe that our manhood is either being a criminal and abusing black women. So if I call you a whore, since my natural responsibility is to protect you and do right by you, and I can't do that, well, I can flip it and trick myself, and now I can lord power over you and talk down to you, and now I can pretend that I have some semblance of manhood, or I can just be honest with myself, pull my pants down so you can see my behind, and just say, look, I surrender, white boy. I ain't no man anyway. I'm not serious about nothing. You don't have to do nothing about me. So when you meet a brother, sister, I don't care how well put together he is, how strong his voice is. I don't care what's going on. If he's a black man on this planet, deep down inside, the best that you can get is a man who realizes that we have failed and we are determined to do something about it. That's the best you're going to get. At the worst, you have a man who has zero self-esteem, zero knowledge of self, He doesn't understand what's going on in the world. He doesn't understand why he's in this condition. He doesn't know because he doesn't have an example of what a man is supposed to do to take care of a woman and how to treat them. And everything he's getting is miseducating him to have the wrong idea of what to do. You have a broken man who needs fixing and needs your help. I'm saying this to you to say, you need to understand when you say, what's wrong with our men? You're looking at the problem where you're standing. Stop. What's wrong with your men is they've been under siege for over 1,000 years. We lost too many battles. And we're trying desperately to find manhood, much less figure out how to do something right by the rest of our people. I don't care what level he's at. On some level, you're dealing with a man who needs some support, even to have the self-esteem to go out here and fight the battles like we're doing here. That's why when you see War on the Horizon, you see these sisters around always doing it, because they know that there are still some brothers out here. Even though we feel like we failed, we still going to keep trying. So they give us that support. If they didn't, we would not be able to do it on our own, because we are broken men coming back for this battle, trying to fight through this. Black man. We go around complaining about our women, why we can't get along with them. Talking about all they want to do is argue and complain. Let's talk about black man. When you meet a black woman, who are you really meeting? Not on the surface. I know she's beautiful. She's the finest thing you ever seen in your life, but who is she really? One of the fundamental things a female on this planet, not just a black woman, but any female expects is to be appreciated and protected by the male of that species. That's just a fundamental thing that they expect, because it should be expected. The reality of it is, she has a group of males who every time they get $1 or get anything of value, abandon her as quickly as possible, only seem to desire her when she chases the image of his open enemy's wife, the white female, and she feels like she has absolutely no value. The darker she is, the more she gets mistreated, which means essentially it's not just about her complexion. It means that the black woman is valueless. And the only way she can get value is to move closer and closer to white, which is a message she's getting from us. So she feels that she is worthless. And that's the message we give her over and over in the media, in the music, in the comments we make. Oh, did you see that red bone? Or did you see that? Oh, she black and this, that, and the other. She feels like she has zero value, except maybe you might want her sexually. So therefore, even if she has dignity and self-esteem, she feels like the only thing that she can do to try to get some attention from her own men who are supposed to have protected her and have lost, and who she stood by even though we've lost, is to try to become a sexual object. Maybe that will help. And not only has she broken and feel her self-esteem is lower than the black man's, she's a consistent victim of sexual brutality for the 500 years of slavery, and now in our communities where the sick, perverted mind of the black male and other black females at this point to molest and harm children has turned us into violators of black women, such that the black woman cannot escape a 500-year plus, because it's continuing today, cycle of sexual assault and brutality. Happens every single day, every single jurisdiction, every single economic condition that black people are in. Doesn't matter if they rich, if they middle class, or if they poor, if they live in the hood, if they live with the crackers up on the hill, the black woman is facing sexual abuse, disrespect, and she feels absolutely worthless.